So as I stated in a few episodes ago, episode 137, after attending the Self-Storage Economic Summit, I think that the storage rental rate increases that we've been enjoying over the past few years, we're not going to be seeing them much in the next coming years, 2018, 2019. So what can you do to increase your revenue and not be relying on increased rental rates like we have in the past? Let's talk about that. My name's Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Self-Storage Quick Start Academy. And what I do is I support the small investor who wants to get in the self-storage business and who wants to grow their self-storage business in a strategic way that creates true wealth and a fulfilling career. And yes, we have been experiencing tremendous income rental rate increases over the past few years as an industry. Our company has been averaging about 6% a year since 2008. However, due to the amount of product that's just entering the market, whether it's even in your market or not, the sheer fact of all the product that's entering the market, that is going to have an effect on self-storage rental rates. So as we prepare for the upcoming year, what are some ways that we can keep the income growing over our operating expense rate and not necessarily just have to rely on rental rate increases? Well, most people who own self-storage that I've talked to, how they focus on it is they're either focused on two things. They're either focused on income growth through rental rate increases or operating expense decreases. So they're focused on their rental rates or they're focused on cutting their operating expenses. That's valid. That's a good thing to have your eye on. But let's back up a second. Let's look at some more classical business and economic development material, and let's look at how you can really grow a company. If you take any business classes or any economic classes, classically there's three primary ways that a company will grow. One is to increase the number of customers. Two is to increase the average transaction size per customer. And three is to increase the frequency of purchases. So now let's apply these classical principles to the self-storage industry, and let's take a look and see if we can use any of them in the upcoming year to affect our self-storage business. This is the work that we're doing right now in our company. So first of all, I'm going to assume that you know where your rental rates are in relation to your market. And I'm going to assume that if you're not at the top of where you can be for your position in the market, you're going to get there. That would be the first thing. But I'm assuming you're already there. But what's really great about the time we live in, there are all types of tools and software programs out there and integrations that you can put in your operating system or even your operating system itself that can show you what your competition's doing, where you are in relationship to your competition, which units are priced right, which units are not priced right. There's a lot of product out there to support you in that. As a business owner, the very first thing you should have your eye on is making sure you're priced where you should be, unit by unit, for your sub-market. So if you're not there, focus on that. But I'm going to assume you're there right now for this conversation. So for many of us, increasing the number of customers is not the first thing we would think of in terms of growth for our company. I mean, if you're at 95% and there's no room for expansion, there's not a whole lot of new customers that you can get into your self-storage facility. But here's what I've seen. If you're in a market where new product is coming online, and you're running at 95, 90%, what's going to end up happening is you're going to have the normal churn of people leaving in a stabilized self-storage facility. Usually the number of people that leave each month and the number of people that move in is somewhat equal. But as new product floods the market and your self-storage facility is now competing with people who are offering 2, 3, 4 months off to move into their facility. What could happen is you're going to notice that your move-outs remain the same, but your move-ins start slowing down because the customers that would normally go to your facility are now going to facilities that are offering discounts to get in. So what are you going to do? How are you going to keep having new customers come to your facility with some aggressive marketing going on in your sub-marketing? Very often these will be done by the big players who have a lot of money to throw at marketing online and have a lot of room to discount and get people in there and then raise the rents on them. So how will you compete with that? Now, I will discuss this, how we're going to do it, in some of the upcoming series in January. But just know that one of the things that we have our attention on very closely is online marketing, strategic online marketing, how to position ourselves to get in front of the competitors, have them come to our facilities first, and be able to dress intelligently and strategically against the discounts that our competition will be offering in any particular sub-market. So a very strategic online presence, and I'm not talking about just nice posts on Facebook and just buying Google AdWord clicks and hoping that your website provider is doing good SEO. No, I'm talking about a very designed strategic online presence that you're measuring, watching, and constantly adjusting to make sure that the customers are seeing you before they're seeing your competition and coming into your facility. That is the way that you increase the number of customers coming into your facility in today's world in the self-storage business. Now let's talk about increasing the average transaction size, or the average number of transactions a customer takes. Now, most of us really don't look at this, but let's take a look. The first way we're going to focus in 2018 on increasing the average transaction size is to put our eye on the amount of retail sold per move-in. Now, each one of our facilities is in different markets and has different managers, and what we've noticed is that each one of our facilities kind of levels out at a certain number per move-in. Now, what would it be like if that manager could double that number? What would it take for that manager to, let's say, double that number? Well, most likely it would take two things. Most likely it would take a new mindset on the manager's part, and it would take us to provide that manager with whatever products and resources they need to double the retail sales per move-in. Those are the type of conversations we're having with our managers right now as we prepare for the upcoming year. What I've noticed is most managers have in their mind an opinion or a view about the customers that come into their facility and what they can spend and can't spend. I'm not saying that those managers' views are incorrect, but perhaps for some of the managers we have, those views limit what's possible for that facility. Those are the kind of conversations we're going to be having with our managers, because if we can increase the number of dollars per move-in on retail sales, that allows the income to grow without having rental rate increases. The next thing we're going to be focused on is tenant insurance. So let's take a look. Do you sell tenant insurance? Is tenant insurance mandatory at your facility? Now, for us, we don't make tenant insurance mandatory, but what if 70% of the people moving into our facilities purchased it? What if 75% of all the customers in a facility were buying tenant insurance? How would that affect the bottom line of our facility, your facility? Well, that's a way that we can increase the average number of transactions and the average transaction size that a customer makes at our storage facility. The third way that we're going to increase the average transaction size per customer is I'm beginning to realize that not all storage units are created equally. Not all 10 by 10s should have the same price at our facilities. Now, I'm not talking about raising our rental rates, but what if the 10 by 10s that were closer to the gate, or the 10 by 10s that were closest to the elevator, or the 10 by 10s that were closest to the office were more? You know, when I fly on an airplane, I'm willing to upgrade to first class as often as I can. If I'm on a long flight and I have a chance to upgrade to first class at the gate, I'll do it. Now, my wife would never do that. She would downgrade if she could, but I would upgrade. And what we notice is there are a certain number of customers in our facilities who would like to upgrade. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to raise the price on our 10 by 10s, but it does mean that we may have some 10 by 10s that are 15, 20% more, that are more convenient for the customer. And if they want to pay that, they can. That's another way we're going to increase the amount of revenue without having price increases. So what are some ways that you can think of? I mean, those are three. Feel free to steal them. But I mean, we're only limited by our thinking. What are some ways that we can increase the average transaction side per customer? I'd love to hear them, share them here so all of us can see, and maybe I'll steal your ideas. Feel free to steal mine. The third way in classical business principles that a company will grow is to increase the frequency of purchases. Now, in self-storage, that's a little difficult. In reality, self-storage is a reoccurring model. It's a monthly reoccurring expense. In terms of business models, that's one of the best that there is, having a reoccurring monthly expense. But we have been experimenting with is offering our current customers something different and new that they can purchase that would support them. So for example, we don't have a high penetration in many of our facilities of customers using tenant insurance. So we've rolled out some email campaigns to our current customer base, and each time we've done that, we've had more and more people purchase tenant insurance. So what we've done is we've increased the average transaction side per customer, but we have now started increasing the number of times that we may offer something that a customer can buy. It's not just when they move in. What are some things that you could be selling or we could be selling to our current customer base that we're not selling now that is something that they would want and that they would purchase from you? Again, share any ideas you have. I'm open. I'm looking to explore that. So here's the thing. As an industry, we've gotten fairly lazy. We've gotten fairly lazy in our marketing. We've gotten fairly lazy in just expecting the money to roll in. And in the future, I don't know when, but in the future, that's going to change. And we're going to have some real competition to deal with. And so my coaching is start preparing and start being the company that can deal effectively with that now. If you're putting a self-storage facility into service, and this is your first one, start from the beginning to relate to your business in this way. Let's say that you don't have or just have one modest price increase in the next 12 months on your rental rates. What are ways that you can increase your revenue and compete with what's hitting the market? You come up with good answers to that, you'll create true wealth and a very fulfilling career in this fantastic business of self-storage. I love every aspect about it, and I love figuring out new ways to grow the self-storage company that we've created. It's part of the joy and pleasure of being in this business. So thank you very much. In our next episode, we're going to start diving into what will be involved in competing and start looking at some really new and different key metrics that we're starting to put our attention on very closely. So I look forward to sharing that with you. My name's Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Storage World Analyzer. That is the tool that we use to analyze self-storage facilities and to know what we can pay for them, to know what they're worth to us, and it helps us design our strategic strategy once we put that product into service. If you're not using it, I invite you to take a look, creatingwealththroughstorage.com, and look at the Storage World Analyzer, or feel free to go straight to storageworldanalyzer.com. So thank you very much. I look forward to being with you next week. See you then.